The Half-Life universe is one of science fiction's most intricate and terrifying worlds. At its core, it tells a story about humanity's desperate struggle against a seemingly invincible force, the Combine. But before we ever step into the shoes of Gordon Freeman and experience the chaos of Half-Life 2, the world as we know it has already crumbled. The event that sets the stage for everything that follows is the 7-Hour War, a devastatingly brief conflict where humanity is swiftly defeated, its governments crushed, and its people forced into submission under an alien empire. The Combine's takeover of Earth in just 7 hours remains one of the most infamous moments in the franchise's lore, and yet little is known about it outside a few newspaper clippings and brief mentions. So how exactly did the Combine manage to conquer humanity so quickly? In this video, we'll explore the key factors that allowed the Combine to overwhelm Earth, examining the war from a strategic, technological, and psychological perspective. The Combine aren't your run-of-the-mill extraterrestrial invaders. They're a multiversal empire that spans dimensions, consisting of a hybrid of biological and technological entities that they've absorbed along the way. Essentially, they're galactic imperialists on an interdimensional scale, stripping planets of their resources, enslaving their populations, and controlling them with an iron fist. Earth, unfortunately, was next on their list. It's important to note that the Combine's invasion was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. Earth became a target thanks to the disastrous events at the Black Mesa research facility. When the scientists at Black Mesa opened a portal to Xen, they unknowingly put Earth on the Combine's radar. The Xen creatures were merely foot soldiers. The real threat was the Combine lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. When the Combine arrived, they were prepared. Earth, on the other hand, was not. Before the terrifying presence of the Combine ever loomed over Earth, the most immediate threat came from Xen, a mysterious border world teeming with hostile alien creatures. The events of Half-Life begin with an experiment gone terribly wrong at the Black Mesa research facility, which inadvertently tore open a portal between Earth and Xen. Scientists at Black Mesa were attempting to harness teleportation technology, but their actions set off a cascade of unforeseen consequences that ultimately led to Earth's downfall. The significance of Xen in the Combine's invasion cannot be overstated. Xen itself was not an aggressive empire like the Combine, but rather a dimension caught between worlds. The creatures from Xen, headcrabs, vortigaunts, and others, were mostly seen as a dangerous problem to deal with rather than a full-blown existential threat. One could argue if it was just Xen that invaded, humanity may have had a fighting chance. However, the real danger wasn't the creatures from Xen, but the attention this rift drew from the Combine. Xen acted as a gateway, a bridge between dimensions that the Combine had long coveted. For years, the Combine had been expanding their empire across multiple realities, conquering worlds and absorbing their technology, biological resources, and populations. The Black Mesa incident, where scientists unknowingly destabilized the boundaries between Earth and Xen, created the perfect opportunity for the Combine to detect and exploit Earth's vulnerability. It's important to remember that the Combine didn't invade immediately. The Half-Life series never clearly states how long the Combine had been observing Earth, but the events at Black Mesa likely served as the signal they needed to assess Earth as a potential target. Once they understood Earth's primitive defenses and lack of interdimensional awareness, they formulated their invasion plan. In many ways, Black Mesa opened the door, not just for Xen's creatures, but for the Combine to gain access to Earth. The chaos unleashed by the incident crippled Earth's governments and militaries, which were already struggling to contain the fallout from the portal storm. By the time the Combine finally arrived in force, humanity had already been weakened by internal conflict, technological breakdowns, and the spread of alien lifeforms across the planet. The Combine's timing was perfect. They waited until Earth was at its most vulnerable, then struck with surgical precision. In this sense, the Black Mesa incident wasn't just a scientific failure, it was a monumental event that reshaped the destiny of Earth. Had Black Mesa not experimented with interdimensional teleportation, the Combine might never have targeted Earth at all. But once the portal was opened, the fate of humanity was sealed. The door was no longer just open, It was blasted off its hinges, and the Combine walked right through. If there's one element that defined the 7-Hour War, it was the sheer technological disparity between the Combine and humanity. Let's take a moment to understand just how vastly superior the Combine's technology was. First and foremost, the Combine had interdimensional teleportation technology, which allowed them to appear in critical locations around Earth almost instantaneously. Human governments, militaries, and defense systems were designed for traditional warfare, with enemies that would attack from specific known locations. The Combine did not operate within these parameters. They didn't need to assemble fleets of ships or massive armies. With their teleportation abilities, they bypassed Earth's conventional defenses entirely, rendering much of our military infrastructure obsolete before the war even began. The Combine's weaponry was light years ahead of anything humanity possessed. While Earth had developed advanced weapons, nuclear missiles, fighter jets, tanks, they were no match for the Combine's arsenal. The Combine soldiers wielded energy weapons that could tear through human forces with ease. Their striders, massive mechanical organic walkers, were capable of leveling buildings and cutting through armoured vehicles like butter. Gunships and dropships allowed the Combine to deploy their forces rapidly, while scanners and manhacks performed reconnaissance and harassment on the battlefield, adding to their overwhelming technological advantage. On Earth, our technology was advanced, but our development had been mostly linear. The Combine, having conquered countless worlds, had access to technology far beyond anything we could imagine, and that's only the forces we have seen in-game on our planet. Who knows what else they have in their arsenal beyond Earth? In the first few hours of the war, this technological gulf was made clear. Human forces were simply outmatched in every conceivable way. Technological superiority wasn't the only tool the Combine used to subdue humanity. They also waged a brutal campaign of psychological warfare, and this may have been one of the most devastating elements of the 7-Hour War. Imagine the panic that set in when world leaders and military officials realized that the Combine could appear anywhere at any time. Entire cities fell within minutes. Governments were unable to coordinate an effective response, and military chains of command disintegrated. The rapidity and scale of the Combine's assault caused mass confusion, paralysing humanity's ability to resist. But it wasn't just the chaos that broke humanity's will. The Combine understood how to manipulate human leadership. Shortly after the invasion began, a mysterious figure emerged, Wallace Breen. Formerly the administrator of Black Mesa, Breen became the Combine's puppet, negotiating Earth's surrender on their behalf. Breen's message to humanity was clear: further resistance would be futile. If the war continued, humanity would face total annihilation. Breen's rise to power is a swan song to the Combine's cunning during the 7-Hour War. Rather than exterminating humanity outright, they chose to enslave it. By installing Breen as Earth's new leader, they created the illusion of human control. Breen's speeches, broadcast across every corner of the planet, assured people that their surrender was the only way to survive. The Combine's psychological warfare worked. Faced with the terrifying reality of the Combine's power, humanity gave up. It's important to note that the Combine seemed to have used these tactics before. Their empire was built on the principle of total control, not through outright destruction, but through the subjugation of entire species. In previous theoretical invasions, they may have found that offering a peaceful solution, after demonstrating overwhelming force, was an effective way to gain control of a planet without further resistance. On Earth, they implemented this strategy flawlessly. One of the first and most significant symbols of the Combine's victory was the rapid construction of citadels across the planet. These towering, monolithic structures were erected in key urban centres shortly after the 7-Hour War ended. The largest and most infamous of these citadels was built in City 17, serving as the Combine's headquarters on Earth. The citadels were more than just buildings though, they were physical manifestations of the Combine's control. Rising high above human cities, these dark, imposing structures loomed over the remnants of humanity, constantly reminding people of the Combine's dominance. Within the citadels, the Combine centralized their rule. deploying troops, overseeing the construction of new technologies, and ensuring that any form of rebellion was swiftly crushed. The placement of these citadels was no coincidence. Each one was constructed in a location of strategic importance, often in densely populated urban areas where resistance would be most likely to form. The Combine understood that by maintaining a presence in these cities, they could keep the population under close surveillance and suppress any potential uprisings before they gained momentum. Wallace Breen operated out of the City 17 Citadel, delivering his speeches of compliance and surrender from within its walls. The Citadel was a psychological weapon, reinforcing the Combine's authority and reminding humanity of their place in this new world order. When analysing the 7-Hour War, it's tempting to focus entirely on the Combine's overwhelming strength, but part of the equation is Earth's inability to respond effectively. There are several reasons for this failure. First, humanity was fractured. Before the Combine invasion, Earth's nations were engaged in various political conflicts, some of which involved military tensions. There was no unified global defense network capable of coordinating against a threat as sudden and powerful as the Combine. In fact, most nations were still reeling from the after effects of the Black Mesa incident, which had left governments scrambling to understand the new threat of interdimensional travel. Second, humanity was complacent. The Black Mesa incident was a warning of what was to come, but for most of the world's population, the idea of an alien invasion still seemed like science fiction. No one could have predicted the Combine's sudden arrival, and by the time the invasion began, it was too late to mount an effective defense. Our military strategies were built on the assumption of conventional warfare, like logistics, including troop supply and movements, not the kind of intense blitzkrieg the Combine unleashed. Lastly, humanity had never faced an enemy like the Combine. This wasn't an invasion in the traditional sense. This was an extermination. The Combine didn't negotiate, didn't play by the rules of human conflict. They arrived, they conquered, and they enslaved. The conclusion of the 7-Hour War marked the beginning of one of the darkest chapters in human history. With the Combine firmly in control, Earth was transformed into a dystopian nightmare. The Combine systematically drained the planet's resources, not just in terms of materials, but also in terms of human life. People were enslaved, forced into labour camps, or worse, subjected to horrific experiments that turned them into mindless drones or horrific biomechanical soldiers. The Combine's rule was absolute, and for nearly 2 decades, humanity lived under the oppressive regime. Resistance was all but impossible. Any attempt at rebellion was quickly squashed by the Combine's ever-present Overwatch forces, and with each passing day, hope dwindled. But of course, this is where Half-Life 2 begins. Gordon Freeman's return, the resurgence of the human resistance, and the eventual fall of the Citadel. However, understanding the 7-Hour War is essential to grasping just how hopeless things once were. It serves as a stark reminder that the Combine are not an enemy to be taken lightly. They are an empire of unimaginable power, capable of reducing entire worlds to rubble in mere hours. In just 7 hours, humanity fell to the Combine. Their technological superiority, psychological warfare, and strategic brilliance left no room for resistance. It wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. Earth's defences were shattered, its governments capitulated, and its people were enslaved. As we look back at the 7-Hour War, we realise just how fragile humanity truly was in the face of such an overwhelming force. The war serves as a reminder that in the world of Half-Life, the Combine are a terrifyingly efficient conqueror, one that may have been temporarily defeated but is far from vanquished. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I hope you enjoyed this video on Half-Life and the 7-Hour War. Shout out to my subs, and hope to see you in the next video.